Hi, welcome to My Favorite Mistake. I'm Mark Rabin, and we are joined today by Yaya Diamond. She is, among other things, a podcaster. More broadly, she's an entertainer, which means being a singer and a recording artist, multi-talented, and we're going to talk about some of that today. But Yaya, thank you so much for being a guest here on the podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a rare occasion.
Well, I'm glad we can talk today, and we'll see where the conversation goes. And we always started off with the question, the theme of the podcast here. What would you say is your favorite mistake?
Not going after things right at the get-go. Like, doubting myself. That's my favorite mistake that I shouldn't be making, but I always do. But it always turns out to be the right move to go for it. But I always hesitate. So it's like, I guess that's my favorite mistake. Hesitation and not going for it and not being like, just jump in, just, you could do it, just go.
Yeah.
So doubting myself, hesitation, procrastination, all those things to keep me from going forward in the beginning. That would be my favorite mistake that I make every single time. You think I would learn, but no.
Well, so let's explore that because, one of the things we talk about here is, learning from mistakes. And I mean, so for maybe, for one, do you have an example or a story of a time you doubted yourself and you ended up regretting it?
Is there not one time that I haven't done that? That's going to be the question.
Well,
I would say, it's a lot of variables with me. I kind of analyze everything before I jump in, which is not always good because I know I have the talent to do it. So let's just say when I was asked to be a part of a show, a concert, and it was a really nice concert, sold out within 3 days. It was a great event, but I kind of doubted myself because of the talent lineup. I was like, well, am I good enough to be on this roster? Am I, and my friends were like, oh, yeah, you're coming. Shut up. Stop doing that. You always do that. They always say that. Stop, So they pulled me in, but it turned out to be an amazing event. It raised a lot of money for charity, and it was just amazing. But I always doubted. I doubted myself, but it was a wonderful event. I got to be on the same stage with one of Orlando's top premier Aretha Franklin tribute acts. I got to be on stage with Twinkle, who is like a famous rock lady, a rock star from the 80s and 90s. She was signed with all kinds of different people, and she's been on stage with, I don't know, I can't say Aerosmith, but people like Aerosmith. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was a great event. We all got on stage at the end, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful, and I'm glad I did it.
So it sounds like, in that example there, you had friends. Intervention might be too strong of a word, but they're trying to coach you up and say, yeah, you're talented, you can do this.
Yeah.
Did you start seeing a pattern and start becoming more aware of this tendency to doubt yourself?
Yes, I did begin to see a pattern in it. It was it's funny because I mean you go about your day, you go about your things, you do everything that you can do because you're so accustomed to just jumping into the normal stuff. But when extra stuff comes in that is above what you believe is your grade, you hesitate. I think that hesitation takes us out of the game a lot of times. And so I did see that pattern. And lately, within the last, I would say since COVID started, I really challenged myself not to hesitate anymore. If I know I have the talent, I'm just going to go ahead and jump in.
Yeah. Well, and so, I think it's good to be aware of that, that tendency or that habit to doubt yourself. And how do you keep that in front of yourself to kind of continually remind yourself? I mean, like some people put a sticky note on their computer monitor about a habit or a reminder or, I mean, what do you do, or what do you plan to do to sort of remind yourself, hey, don't do that?
Now, I forgot the lady's name, but I know her last name is Robbins. It's not Tony Robbins. It's someone else. Anyway, I forgot her first name, but she has this 5-second thing. where I loved it because I'm not very good at keeping little papers around. I always throw them away. So if your number's on a little paper, I'm sorry, I threw it away.
Yeah.
So, but what she did was she said you have to kind of reassert yourself. So she does this countdown, and she does it in a different way. It's more like the countdown is for her. It's just different, but I use the countdown for myself as a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to kind of reset myself. So I'll count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, yes, or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, no. And that's my decision. It's not going to be a maybe or if or let me think about it or anything like that. Within that 5 seconds that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about the talent I have and how I shouldn't undermine myself and I should challenge myself. Or I don't have that talent, but I know someone who does. Maybe I should just go ahead and say no. I know I'm not very good at that. So let me say no, and then let me refer them to the person that I know that can do that. So within that time frame, that 5 seconds, it gives me that moment to either say yes or no. It also takes the hesitation away from me and my self-doubt. So I either know I can or I can't within 5 seconds.
Well, you sort of answered a question I was going to ask as a follow-up. Earlier, you talked about analyzing a situation, and I was going to ask about finding the balance of analyzing without over-analyzing. And it sounds like this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is your
That's going to be my thing
to prevent over-analyzing.
Right. Yeah. I can either do it, and I know I have the talent to do it. I know I have the skill to do it. And within those 5 seconds, I can kind of go through everything and kind of analyze a question and either say yes or no. And if I know it's not going to make me happy to do it, it's going to be taxating on me. I do have the talent, just not the time. I will say no.
Yeah. Yeah. And what you're describing, I don't know if you've heard the phrase, like this is a fairly common dynamic in different professional circles, imposter syndrome.
Okay.
And so I think, what happens there is, it's just off the top of my head from what I've read about this, but there's a certain point where, somebody reaches a level of proficiency where they know what they don't know, right? That's different than being a beginner.
Right.
People have reached some level of success and then self-doubt kicks in. And people, very often feel like, I've heard people talk about this in professional circles. They're invited to conferences to speak on stage. I guess back when we were doing that, we'll do that again soon. And they've got that doubt where they say, well, I feel like an imposter. And that can be, really difficult, if that gets in your head, to not let that hold you back.
Right. Well, I mean, I never felt like I was an imposter. I have to say that. I never really felt like as if I was living someone else's life or trying to be someone I'm not. That's not, something I ever struggled with. Because I know who I am. I just don't know how good I am. So that's where the hesitation came in.
Yeah. And I think that imposter syndrome, it's not about pretending to be someone else, but someone would say you're an expert, and the imposter feels like, well, I'm just sort of posing as an expert.
Okay, I gotcha.
So that happens sometimes. So I was going to ask, I'm just kind of, not really on the topic of mistakes, but during the pandemic times, you talked about evaluating opportunities. As a musician, this has been a difficult time in terms of not being able to perform. How are you getting through that?
For 6 months there was nothing. Those 6 months. This month we've had a few shows. It started in October, 1 or 2 outdoor events. November's kicked up a little bit more, where the actual venues, what they're doing is they're roping off the stage. They're telling artists they cannot mingle with the crowd, and the crowd cannot dance. They can dance at their tables. Tables are 6 feet apart. Most of the stuff is outdoors. Any indoor event, we do a short set, go outside, come back in, do another one, go back outside. So it's a little bit different of a structure, and masks are always involved with that. So I have a plethora of masks now. But it's a little different. It's picking up. It might slow down again, though, because I just got a cancellation for New Year's.
I think we're all still trying to figure out yeah, how bad the pandemic is getting again, and then
Yeah.
what to do about it. And there are mistakes made in that realm, unfortunately. But so I am curious to kind of dig a little bit more deeply into performing.
Uh-huh.
As a kid and even up through the end of college, I performed quite a bit as
Hmm.
a percussionist, a drummer,
Oh,
and
nice.
a percussionist.
Uh-huh.
And I can't sing. I'm a little tone deaf, perhaps, but as a
That's okay.
drummer, you can get away with that as a
Yes.
drummer. As the joke says, I'm not a musician, I'm a drummer.
Oh gosh.
So drummers can say that. But thinking about the investment of time that
Hmm.
goes into rehearsal, and
Right.
even with that, I still have seared into my mind, a couple of musical mistakes that
Hmm.
I made that either went unnoticed and bothered me, or
Right.
were I think in one case, like basically I blew a solo with the symphony,
Oh no.
and had practiced and practiced and rehearsed, and I think the only time I had blown it that badly, I think it was 17 years old,
Hmm.
was in the concert. So
Mm.
my question to you as a professional musician, what is the role of practice individually, the role of rehearsal as an
Hmm.
ensemble to try to help prevent musical mistakes?
Right. You're never gonna completely prevent musical mistakes. Um,
I feel
I
better
guess
then. Thank
that's an oxymoron, and there will be times when you will kind of like freeze up. I guess the which is what I have to do today. Before you go to rehearsal as a professional, you have to know your material.
you. Mhm.
It's not like you're gonna go to rehearsal to rehearse and learn your material. You should know it. So they expect you on a different level to know your material before you walk in the door.
Mhm.
A lot of times I'll get hired, like this Friday, I was hired to do a show with another band. There is no rehearsal. You know the stuff, you have to
Yeah.
know it. You
Yeah.
walk in and you do the show.
Mhm.
So there is no rehearsal. So there, it depends on what level you're on. If you're a band, original band, there is a different level to that too, because you're getting together to write a song.
Mhm.
There's nothing really organized.
Yeah.
And on that level, you don't know anything. You just walking in, and everybody's just gonna
Figure it
jam
out.
until they figure it out.
Yeah.
Kind of go through it all. But I would say, as a professional or even as someone that's beginning, the best thing that someone can do, like I did, was learn your material the best way you can. When you get to rehearsal, things will get tightened from there.
Mhm.
So basically, you're looking to tighten up. When you get to the show, just kind of separate a little bit from the crowd, from the people trying to say hello. You say hello and whatever,
Mhm.
but kind of separate yourself. Go over everything in your head. I always bring my tablet with me. I have an Apple
Mhm.
tablet. I don't know what it's called, but
Yeah.
an
The
Apple
iPad.
tablet,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
iPad, whatever
Right.
you want to call it.
Yeah.
And on there, I have my set list, and then I also have some words. So sometimes, like this Friday, I will be taking my tablet with me to remind me of my words, just in case, because there's a few songs that I'm not really too familiar with,
Mhm.
and I have until Friday to learn them, and it's not that many. I'd say 99% of the songs I know,
Mhm.
and then there's like one or two I don't.
Yeah.
So I mean, you just have to be prepared to the best way you can be prepared. Don't beat yourself down. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna hit flats. Oh my gosh, it's
Yeah.
and sometimes in the middle of a song, I do forget the words.
Yeah.
You make your own up because nobody really knows the words anyway. Not unless it's like "I will always love you," then you're messed up.
Sure. I was gonna say if
Yeah.
it's from one of the big hits in the Aretha Franklin
Then yeah, then
song
you're
book.
yeah, forget it. You're just put
But
the mic out like this and go, yeah, you know the words, right? Thank you so much. I remember now. So yeah.
yeah, and you don't want to misspell RSPECT. Yeah.
RESPCD.
Yeah,
Yep.
I wasn't trying to sing that. Even just saying it out loud, I'm like, that's easy to stumble over
It really is. It
because I
really
have not
is.
rehearsed that clearly.
Yeah, and yeah. It is, it can be a challenge because you become sort of like, I would say like a robotic kind of person where you kind of go through the motion. However, if something kind of interrupts you or startles you, that will throw you off. And usually you forget everything after that because you were so used to going into a pattern. When the pattern is disrupted, that's when you really need to know your music. It's funny. Okay, so you're a drummer, right? You're a drummer.
Yeah.
So you've played in different places. Some places people have rhythm and some places people don't. And as a drummer, a percussionist, a singer, vocalist, whatever you are in that band, you know, either you're going to be able to look at the people and play or don't look at the people and play. So that's what I'm talking about. There could be some instances where you're thrown off a little bit, and I think that maybe, you know, or the pressure or just being in a different situation can throw you off a little bit. But yeah, if you got people in the audience that can't really keep a rhythm, don't look at them while you're playing.
Yeah. And see, I do have a pair of drumsticks handy, even in my office. I don't have
Nice.
Full-blown drum set anymore. But yeah, I mean, I'm thinking the one mistake that comes to mind is in that category of being in a different environment. So I was in the marching band at Northwestern University, and did you ever do marching band or play an instrument?
I did. I was the flag staff.
Oh, okay.
I did the flag staff. Yeah.
Yeah. So the pregame show for a marching band generally is the same every week. It's the fight song. It's the same formation. You could almost do it in your sleep because you've practiced it that much. Well, once a year we would take a road trip, and I remember we were at the University of Iowa, and the thing that got into my head was that during the pre-game rehearsal that morning, there was a question of, well, we go down and turn and play to the left. Well, because we were the visiting team, are we going to go down and turn and play to the right? Where are our fans going to be?
Right.
And they had changed it back and forth a couple of times.
Oh, no.
And then, of course, during the actual live pregame show, we got to that point where I spun to the left and I realized everybody else had already turned right.
That must have been. Do you have that on tape? That's got to be funny.
No, I don't think. No, it's probably not. You know, from the early '90s. If it was on tape, it was being filmed at a level where you would have really had to be looking. But you know, so I had the drums in front of me, and like once you've come to a stop, it's harder. So like to do a 180 was just kind of like,
yeah, you just kind of played it off.
If somebody
either that or run to the other side.
Yeah. So you know, I mean, again, like you know, no big deal. It's funny how that sticks. A mistake can stick with you. The good times and the successes,
right,
are there too as well, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I've made plenty of mistakes.
We all do, right? And that's one of the themes of the podcast here is to sort of, you know, embrace that and figure out, okay, how do we learn from it? How do we grow?
Exactly.
You know, what you were describing there seems applicable, you know, as a speaker going on stage of what I heard you describe was sort of that pregame prep.
Right.
Just kind of, you've got a routine and you stay in that mental, I'm ready to perform space. That sounds like
right.
Ways
you have to
getting thrown off.
Yeah, definitely. You have to be ready for that odd moment. You know, you have to prepare yourself as much as possible for being thrown off, you know, and what to do if something should happen that is just out of the ordinary. So
what's an example of that, of like something like something happens in the middle of the performance? What would throw you off? I'm just curious.
So we were performing with Glenn Leonard from the Temptations, and I was with him for 8 years for the Hitsville live show, and it was a great thing. But we never really had anybody rush the stage. But what? So we were doing oh gosh, it was one of the Supreme songs. And the whole skit was that, you know, we would go out into the audience and grab someone and pull them on the stage.
Yeah.
So I was singing with Brenda Waddy, former singer with the Marvelettes, and she went out to the stage and she was like, it was Bill. Okay. If you guys know what Bill is, it's from, you know, just check it out. So she goes off the stage. She walks into the audience. She goes, Bill, where were you? Oh my gosh, I can't believe, who is this woman you're with, Bill? And we were like, And it's three girls, So we were looking at each other like, Bill, but I thought you were going to be with me. And she sat on the guy's lap and smacked him. I mean, like you heard it. It was like, we were like, are we going to be sued for this? So, and then he was disabled, which we didn't know. He had a cane. And so when he stood up, he grabbed his cane and she jumped up and he grabbed her with one arm and had to carry her back to the stage. We were like,
I guess that's the danger of ad-libbing.
Yes. But
improv.
But we never did. After that, we didn't do the Bill thing like that anymore. But it was like, he had a red mark on his face from her smacking him.
Wow. There's an example of
that was really out of the ordinary, and it threw everybody off. Like literally, we had to kind of regain ourselves. Mm-hmm. He had a great time, so I guess he liked getting smacked.
Oh, good. No lawsuit.
No lawsuit.
Well, it sounds like There's an example of learning from a mishap or a mistake, or right. We didn't anticipate that, but
no, we did not, and we had to kind of reel that in a little bit. Yeah. But it was funny. Yeah. But we were like, so yeah, that was something that pretty much threw us off. Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Well, so before we wrap up, Yaya, want to talk a little bit about your podcasting, and you've got some new frontiers that you're going into. If you want to tell us about that.
Yeah, so yesterday I signed the agreement with 100.9 FM and 1580 AM iHeartRadio. So I am now an official talk show radio host on terrestrial radio.
Wow.
That's it's something. So I jumped in.
No, what?
I jumped in.
So did you use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1?
No, I did the 1. I said 1, yes. And I did it.
There was no doubt about that this time.
No, because podcasting is pretty much radio, but it's a podcast, but you're still a host, and I think that it's pretty much the same. So why not?
Yeah. Well, good. So there's the progression from doubting yourself to saying, yeah, let's do this. So when does that start?
Let's just do it. December 7th is going to be the first show, and it'll go for 13 weeks. And if everything works out, then we'll keep going.
Yeah. And what city are those stations?
So it's Sarasota, Charlotte County, Fort Myers. It's like Northport. It's all those little area up within there. And it's also online.
Yeah.
So you can get us WCCF, iHeartRadio is where we are online.
Yeah, and the title of your podcast again is?
It's Dream Chasers Radio. That's it. Dream Chasers Radio is the podcast. It's going to be the same name on the radio show, so it's the same. And so what's figure out? Just jump, just do it.
Yeah. So do you end up talking about that? People come on and talk about how they've chased their dreams, professionally or personally.
Everything, whatever the case may be for a person, everybody has different goals and different dreams. It doesn't have to necessarily take you and put you in the eye of millions of people. It could just be something that you've been wanting to do for your family. And finally, you're the one that did it, even though other people said they were, there's accomplishment is accomplishment. And I put nothing above anything else. I think it's all great.
Yeah. And what's your website, Yaya, where they can find the podcast and about you and your music and everything in general?
So there's 2 sites. There's Dream Chasers Radio, and then there's also YayaDiamond.com. So DreamChasersRadio.com and YayaDiamond.com.
Well, great. I hope people will check that out. Congratulations on the launch of the radio show. That's very exciting. So
thank you.
Taking a step up in reaching people with your show and your message and your guests. So that's really good to hear.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, our guest again has been Yaya Diamond, podcaster, radio host, entertainer, singer, recording artist. Thank you for sharing some of your experiences and giving a glimpse into sort of the world of music and how you've reflected upon, as you said, learning to not doubt yourself. So Yaya, thank you so much for being a great guest today.
Thank you so much.